Hey, you guys, it's Food FAQ time. I'm Mariela,
And I'm Eric.
and today we're talking about something that isn't so sexy, but I think is delicious.
It's so good. Well, cooked the right way, it's really good.
Agreed. And it's meatloaf. Okay?
Yeah. But this is like
Sound,
not your mom's meatloaf.
sound the
Like,
siren. It's fucking
this
delicious.
is really good.
Yes. So, you told me that you make some kind of very creamy meatloaf. So, I want to hear about this.
So I learned this recipe a long time ago. This recipe actually called for ground chicken. It did not call for ground beef, but you can use ground beef. You can use any type of meat you want with this. Okay. So we're just going to go with whatever meat you got. Now, here's the other thing too. I don't cook meatloaf in a meatloaf pan or things like that. I form it and cook it on a baking sheet because I don't like that fat juiciness that just comes in. It's just not great, but you get like a nice crispier meatloaf on the outside than you do if you cook it in a loaf. So that's just me. And I learned that like 30 years ago from Alton Brown.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what you do is you're going to take your, like I said, you're going to take your ground meat, whatever protein choice you want. It's going to make a large meatloaf. So you're going to take about 2 pounds of this. Okay. So it's going to take it's going to be a large meatloaf. So with 2 pounds of this meatloaf, here's the deal with meatloaf. You got to season the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Because it's bland. So you got to season the heck out of this. So you're going to use whatever seasonings you want. But the season I like to use is I like to use a lot of salt. I like to use pepper. I like to use basil. I like to use oregano. I like to make it like that type of flavor. But if you think that you've seasoned too much, you haven't.
Right.
Okay. So make sure you season it. Then with that 2 pounds of meat, you got to crack like 3 eggs in there. It's a lot of meat. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead. We're going to you could do 2 options. You can soak some bread in milk and you could put the soaked milk, bread into your meatloaf, like 2 or 3 slices. We're not a lot. It's not a lot. Or you could just do a splash of milk in there and just throw Italian breadcrumbs, which is what I do.
Me too, usually.
And then you're going to take your hands because your hands are your best tool with this. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to mix it. And you're going to get it pretty well mixed. All right.
Don't overmix.
Don't overmix it. That's exactly what I was going to say. Do not overmix it though. So it's okay to see, you want to see the spices. You want to see the bread pieces. It's okay.
Yeah.
So then what I do is take half of the meat and I start forming my rectangle. And then this is where Mariela has no faith in me. Okay. And everybody's going to fucking love this because they have good taste, unlike Mariela. So then what's going to happen is you're going to take cream spinach. It's delicious. Okay.
Did you make it? The cream spinach?
I did not make the cream spinach. You can buy the cream spinach in the frozen food section.
Oh.
You can make it, but you can also buy it. Like I think Bird's Eye has like a frozen cream spinach. It comes in like a box.
Really?
And yep. And you just heat it up in the microwave. You don't have to take time to make it.
Wait, could you use spinach dip? Because that sounds good.
You can use spinach dip. You could probably use like broccoli and cheese. You can use any type of like creamy type vegetable you really want to put in there. So then you're going to layer that on top. And then what you're going to do after that is then you're going to take the rest of your meat mixture and you're going to put that on top and you're going to seal it all the way around. So you're going to make this big rectangle essentially. Go ahead and put it in your oven. So I would preheat the oven. It's big. So you want to start it off with a lower temperature, like 350. And you're going to cook this for, I would say about 45 minutes. Okay. But now we need like a delicious topping to go on top. So we're going to be a little basic here and you're going to put some ketchup in a bowl. Ketchup's a little bland on its own. So go ahead and season up your ketchup. The same seasonings that you put in the meatloaf, put in that ketchup. And you're going to take that. And actually, it's really good if you also put like a splash of Worcestershire sauce in there also.
Girl, you got to put mustard and brown sugar in that bubby and then you got to stir it.
No,
yes,
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is Eric's meatloaf. We'll go to Marty's meatloaf in a minute. And so you're going to stir it together and then you're going to go ahead and you're just going to pour it over the meatloaf, get it back in the oven. You're going to cook it probably for about another 20 minutes. The meatloaf will take close to an hour to cook. And it's going to be about another 20 minutes. But what's going to happen is the sugar, because there's sugar in ketchup, Marty, the sugar is going to go ahead and it's going to caramelize up on the top of this. And also when you baste it all the way around, don't just lay it on the top, baste it all the way around.
Yeah.
Again, because you're not cooking in a pan, it's going to just really caramelize and turn like kind of dark and delicious. Take it out, let it rest for like 10 minutes because you have molten spinach dip or cream spinach in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And cut it up. Mariela, it's so freaking good.
Okay.
It's so good.
I'm excited to actually, with spinach dip, it makes me happy.
Spinach dip, or like I said, like, and don't worry. And if you're going to use cream spinach, don't make it. Just buy it in the frozen section and just heat up in the microwave before you put it on your meats.
Yeah, because it seems like a pain in the ass to make
this cream spinach is a mission to do.
It's not hard, but it's like, I'm making a meatloaf. I don't want to have a 3-step process, which I'm about to explain to you another 3-step process, actually.
Exactly.
This is different. I just got this meatloaf recipe from, Eric, I know that you don't have kids at school, but the hardest thing about having kids at school is not the kids at school. It's having to socialize with people that maybe you wouldn't otherwise, but you have to because your parents and your kids hang out.
Exactly.
So it's not the easiest type of social scene, especially for me. I'm like super ako taco when it comes to social settings. So this recipe came to me via like my favorite mom at school. And she told me she made the best meatloaf, and she listens to the podcast. And I thought, okay, I'm going to totally try this recipe. Mm-hmm. And it is a little bit complicated. Okay. It's not your usual kind of regular meatloaf recipe, but it is delicious. It is called Dad's Meatloaf with Tomato Relish recipe. So check this out, man. You get, this recipe calls for a lot of pepper, which y'all know I can't do because my husband does not like pepper. But I did sneak 1 yellow pepper in there, although it calls for, I think, 3 or 2 whole peppers, right? The idea is that you start caramelizing onions and garlic and a bay leaf and the peppers and some parsley. And you go ahead and you season that up with Worcestershire sauce, salt, and pepper. And then you add 2 or 3 chopped tomatoes in there. And you saute all that together. And then you add 12 ounces of ketchup. I know this sounds weird. You add 12 ounces of ketchup to this. You go ahead and you caramelize it a little bit on the pan. You cook it. You set it aside. You grab your meat. This uses a combination of 1.5, I believe it's 1.5 pounds of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork, which I was all in for because I feel like that was going to be one juicy meatloaf, So you mix that together. And this recipe calls for 3 slices of white bread that you put in the milk to soften. So you do that. You add the breadcrumb. You add 2 eggs, some thyme, salt, and pepper, right? And then you add 1.5 cups of this tomato relish directly into the meatloaf.
Nice.
It's insane. You mix it all together. You make your Eric size loaf on the pan. It's a giant meatloaf. And then you top it with 1/2 cup of the tomato relish, right? On top. And then you get 2 slices of bacon and you chop it up tiny and you put it on top. And then you put that sucker into the oven at 350 for about 1.5 hours. Yep. And what comes out of there is not a meatloaf. It is something special with juicy bacon on top. And it's so flavorful on the inside, like from the, there's no pocket. Sometimes I'll make a meatloaf and there'll be like a little pocket of like more intense flavor. I don't know what happens to you. But this doesn't, because I whizzed everything in the food processor before I put it into the pan to make the tomato relish. So it was like this flavor bomb that I kind of incorporated into the meat. And it was worth it. It was worth the 2-step process, which I usually wouldn't be singing the praises of if it wasn't this delicious. It really is it makes it a Sunday meal.
It looked great.
Yes. It just like your cream spinach makes yours special. This tomato relish makes this special. The only thing is that, you do have to put in a little bit more effort and make the relish yourself because you can't really buy this stuff. But if you bought pre-chopped vegetables at the supermarket, it would make way easier work of it.
Right. You know what I like about yours is that a lot of your seasoning is in that pan that you made, the tomato relish that you made. And so you're mixing around all the meat, like you're getting all that flavor that's coming from that. So that's kind of awesome.
And it was so moist. I don't think I've ever made a meatloaf this moist, because between the pork and the breadcrumbs and the relish, you cannot miss. And I reheated it today and it was still moist and delicious. Like, I'm craving it right now. I think I might have a piece after this.
We'll make a meatloaf sandwich. I love meatloaf sandwiches.
I only have croissants though. Would that be weird?
No, it'd be fucking delicious. What the fuck are you talking about?
I've been kind of fantasizing about it all day. I think I'm gonna do it.
You're like, oh God, I don't have bread, but I have croissants. So absolutely. That would be fantastic. Mariela,
okay, I'm gonna make one croissant meatloaf sandwich.
Cut the croissant in half and just lightly toast it just a little bit.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Just lightly toast it. You have to put something on the croissant. Now hear me out. Hear me out. Because I know we're kind of the same with this. Like, we're not huge mayonnaise fans, but just put a small layer of mayonnaise, on the top and bottom, just a small layer, a light layer.
Okay.
On the top and bottom.
Okay.
And that's it. But because you're going to get the croissant a little toasty, smaller mayonnaise on each side, put a chunk of meatloaf in there. Done. Don't do anything else because that meatloaf sounds really flavorful.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot.
No, it doesn't need anything else. And the mayonnaise is just going to help just keep the croissant a little moist because you toasted it a bit. Oof. That's a good snack.
Okay,
that is a good snack. What did you say to me today? This is why you'll never be thin in life?
I know, never. Look at this. We're like really like salivating over this croissant.
Right. It's like a couple hours after dinner time and you and I are just like, you know what we need for a snack? How about a meatloaf sandwich and a croissant?
A crow loaf.
A crow loaf. How about getting the fattiest bread possible?
I know.
And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put meatloaf in the middle of this.
Yeah, I'm really into this meatloaf. It is really, really good. And my kids ate it. They're not meatloaf fans, but they ate it. Even my son, which does not love ground beef.
Right.
He ate it. So I recommend this. This is a good fall meal too. Fall, fantastic and fast.
Yes. Serve it with salad, serve it with mashed potatoes, serve it with scallop potatoes.
Whoa, stop it, girl. You can make it.
Mariela, serve it with a wedge salad.
Girl.
Love a good wedge salad.
I don't know if I can handle all that. But I did do my little smashed potatoes that I talked about before. And kids love those. And it was easy. Easy, you guys. Make this into a Sunday meal. You can even serve a vegetable if you dare. Go for it. Anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this beautiful meal and you give it a shot. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And take a look at the links. 5-star. And
5-star.
Don't forget to look at the links in the show notes. We have so many amazing things, including our newsletter that you can subscribe to and get recipes directly to your inbox.
Do it.
We want to be there. We want to be there for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you soon. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.